So for our project, we chose what are the environmental consequences of planned obsolescence. The objective of this presentation is to explore and analyze the environmental consequences of planned obsolescence, a practice in which products are deliberately designed with a limited lifespan to encourage frequent replacement. This presentation will examine how planned obsolescence contributes to the depletion of natural resources, the creation of electronic waste, and increased pollution. We will also discuss broader environmental impacts associated with industries that employ this strategy, such as electronics, fashion, and automotive sectors. By the end of this presentation, the goal is for the audience to gain a comprehensive understanding of the environmental implications of planned obsolescence and to consider potential solutions for mitigating its harmful effects.
So what is planned obsolescence? Planned obsolescence entails the deliberate design of products to artificially limit their lifespan, either actual or perceived functionality. This pretty much means that the product might actually be broken or it seems dated to the consumer. This encourages or requires consumers to replace the products prematurely. It's essentially a scheme that companies use to sell more products. This approach makes buyers have to purchase more products more frequently, which is great for the companies, but not so much for the consumers.
So now we're going to discuss why and how planned obsolescence began. So planned obsolescence was a business strategy where products were deliberately designed to have a limited lifespan, compelling consumers to purchase replacements more frequently. This practice can cost European consumers up to 50,000 euros over their lifetimes. So this concept dates back to the 1920s, with one of the earliest instances being the Phoebus cartel in 1924. So leading light bulb manufacturers, including Philips, Osram, and General Electric, formed this cartel to reduce the lifespan of their light bulbs from 2,500 hours to 1,000 hours, ensuring increased sales.
In 1932, Bernard London coined the term planned obsolescence in his work Ending the Depression Through Planned Obsolescence, proposing it as a solution to stimulate economic growth during the Great Depression. Over time, this strategy has been adopted across various industries, notably in technology and fashion, leading to increased customer costs and environmental waste. In response, initiatives like European Union's Right to Repair Directive aims to combat planned obsolescence by promoting product longevity and repairability.
So there are two main types of planned obsolescence with subcategories. So the first one we'll be discussing is physical obsolescence mechanism. So this means that physical obsolescence refers to a way a product's physical components are designed to deteriorate or wear out over time, leading to the need for replacement. The three types are design for limited repair, design for limited functional life, and design aesthetics that lead to reduced satisfaction. So for design of limited repair, some products are designed in a way that makes repair difficult or expensive. For instance, when key parts of a product, such as bearings in washing machines, break, repairing them becomes so costly and complex that it becomes cheaper to simply buy a new product instead of fixing it. This encourages consumers to replace rather than repair.
Design for limited functional life is also known as death dating or contrived durability. In this approach, products are deliberately designed to degrade after a set period, often through the use of poor quality materials. For example, plastic parts that wear down easily or screws that break after a few years are common ways to limit the product's lifespan. This means the product is no longer functional after a short time, encouraging consumers to replace it rather than repair it.
The third one is design aesthetics that lead to reduced satisfaction. In some cases, a product's aesthetic qualities are designed to degrade over time, reducing customer satisfaction. For example, a quartz wristwatch may have stainless steel body but a crown, the part used to adjust the time, that's made out of material that oxidizes quickly. This makes the watch less appealing, and when the battery needs replacing, consumers might be tempted to buy a new one instead.
The second category we will be discussing is technological obsolescence. Technological obsolescence refers to the process by which products become outdated due to advancements in technology or shifts in consumer trends. The two subcategories are design for fashion or style obsolescence and design for functional enhancement. Design for fashion or style obsolescence. In some industries, like automotive design, products are intentionally updated with minor aesthetic changes, such as new headlights or trim details, while keeping the same core technologies. These superficial changes encourage consumers to replace the older products to stay in style, even though the product's functionality remains unchanged.
The second subcategory is design for functional enhancement. So in this mechanism, products are frequently upgraded with new features or technologies. For example, smartphones may gain new functionalities like GPS, better cameras, or additional apps with each new model, making the previous model seem outdated. This drives consumers to replace their old device to keep up with the latest advancements in technology. Like if you have an older iPhone, sometimes they'll start slowing down during the production of new ones. Both physical and technological obsolescence are strategies used to drive consumerism by ensuring products wear out or become outdated, demanding frequent replacements.
Now let's talk about the environmental impacts of planned obsolescence. One of the consequences we see with planned obsolescence is resource depletion and waste generation. By intentionally shortening the product's lifespans, manufacturers drive consumers to purchase replacements more frequently. This accelerates the depletion of natural resources and contributes to the accumulation of waste, particularly electronic waste, also known as e-waste. E-waste contains hazardous materials that can harm the environment if not properly managed. A study published in Crime, Law, and Social Change highlights that planned obsolescence undermines the environmental sustainability by limiting the usable life of products to bolster private profit and to the expense of customer interests and environmental health.
Another category is increased pollution. So the continuous cycle of manufacturing, distributing, and disposing of the products due to planned obsolescence results in higher energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. This process contributes to environmental pollution and climate change. Research indicates that the practice of planned obsolescence exacerbates environmental issues by promoting excessive consumption and waste accumulation.
Hindrance to sustainable practices. Planned obsolescence contradicts the principles of circular economy, which emphasizes product longevity, reuse, and recycling. By designing products with shorter lifespans, manufacturers impede efforts to reduce waste and conserve resources. An article in the Oxford Journal of Legal Studies discusses how planned obsolescence promotes a culture of wastefulness, perpetuating to buy new and buy often mentality that limits consumer autonomy to keep products longer.
During our research, we found a couple surprising statistics that might influence how us as consumers consume our products and what we do with them after we're done. So in Canada, 500 million kilograms of fabric are wasted every year. Most textiles that are produced, that are 85%, end up in a landfill, and this is from Waste Solutions Canada. The fashion industry is responsible for 10% of all global carbon emissions. That's from Uniform Market. Less than 1% of fast fashion garments are recycled or able to be recycled into different pieces of clothing, and that is from Geneva Environment Network. Only 22% of e-waste, which is electronic waste, has been documented as recycled, which is from the World Health Organization. E-waste leaches toxic materials such as lead, cadmium, and beryllium into our water and soil. And that is from earth.org. 136,000 tons of vehicular waste are being put into Canadian landfills each year, which is typically in landfills or wrecking yards. And that's from the Canadian Environmental Law Association.
While doing our research, we also came across a study that was done by the Government of Canada. So in January of 2018, a survey was done with a sample size of 2,202 participants to see what the public's opinion on planned obsolescence was with home appliances and electronics. It said that 86% of respondents indicated that they believed that HAEs, or home appliances and electronics, are deliberately designed with short lifespans. 80% of respondents reported that they purchased their devices new, indicating a low propensity for reuse.
So with the concept of planned obsolescence comes ethical and societal implications. So let's discuss some societal implications. Consumers are so driven by the popularity that it influences what they buy, what they eat, and how they live their lives. Typically, when a company pushes its new and better than before products, it is a wave of consumers that are buying these products that continue the production. While not all of it is directly the buyer's fault, the rise of popularity in these products is influenced by the mass amount of people who are buying it and endorsing it. The constant buying is also labeled as the scapegoat effect, where consumers are directly blaming their impulsions on the company instead of directly reflecting on how they themselves can make their spending habits more meaningful.
Now let's discuss the ethical implications of planned obsolescence. Ethical considerations reference the consequences that arise from actions like bias, lack of respect, or competition. Take, for example, Apple iPhones. Once the production of a newer model begins, the older iPhones that are still being used by customers begin to slow down or fill up on space and essentially bribe the customer into buying their newest model. Not to mention the constant redesign of laptops and iPhones. People can easily recognize the newest iPhone and associate that person with wealth or hierarchy. A study done by Dawson showed that consumers often overpurchase to try and measure up or appear above those around them. This constant purchasing is in turn harmful to the consumers trying to prove themselves and to the environment. Mentally, it can cause imposter syndrome and even lead to financial insecurity, where environmentally, people are constantly throwing out their old clothes and technology, polluting the environment, and putting more resources on demand to make new products.
There is a sad reality for many of us that are in the nursing program and in the medical field, and it is one of the biggest polluters of single-use plastics and produces equipment that is directly made with a plan of obsolescence. So hospitals and companies are directly to blame for some of this. So while countless amounts of research over many years have developed the system that we practice under now, the best way for patients to recover is to prevent further illness. One of the best ways to prevent further illness is called aseptic technique, where all patients are given the cleanest medical equipment or healthcare providers dressed in disposable clothing to each room to prevent cross-contamination from something on their clothing. For example, a report done in 2002 touches on how hospitals have some of the biggest ecological footprints, such as the 1.75 million medical gloves that are thrown away by one hospital every year. While the pollution from hospitals appears massive, there's very little hope for a solution due to best practice guidelines. According to the CDC, infection control precautions are non-negotiable, where making changes in the code for medical procedures to appear more environmentally friendly in most cases is simply not possible. The planned obsolescence in the medical field is designed to prevent the spread of disease, meaning the solution for a hospital's ecological footprint is unclear. And now for advancing medical technology. Medical machinery is constantly getting redesigned to improve accuracy and human calculation. But what happens to the old medical equipment that still works fine? For many rural communities, those older versions are all they have, and they still work perfectly fine. The funding for clinics and nursing stations in rural areas is insufficient, and those older pieces of equipment are starting to break due to the company enforcing obsolescence. The solution for these communities is to try and purchase this equipment that they cannot afford that is also designed to break again. This cycle of constant replacement is expensive and is sending communities around the world in debt and fueling the companies to continuously make more equipment that uses many resources.
Now let's discuss solutions and recommendations. From a consumer standpoint, it is hard to get so many major companies to stop the way they design their products. However, as the consumer, there are a few ways we can avoid buying products that are designed to break. The 3 R's. The 3 R's, known as reduce, reuse, and recycle, is a great way to think before consuming a product. Re-wear your clothes as much as possible, or donate them to an organization like thrift stores or diabetes collection to keep them out of the landfill. Or you can repurpose clothes from home into new garments if you're bored of the style and want to try something new. Reuse dishes and home goods into crafts, pots, or decorations, or reuse single-use plastics that would otherwise end up in a landfill. Don't throw out electronics that are still good. Get as much use out of them as possible, and then recycle them at your local electronics recycling depot.
If you're looking to buy more mindfully, company reputation is important to research before you buy something. This research is simple but effective, as it can influence your choices and mold what kind of consumer you want to be. To make your spending habits more mindful, avoid fast fashion. Some brands to avoid are Shein, Forever 21, H&M, Zara, and Urban Planet. Instead, you can try Tentree, Roots, Patagonia, Outerknown, Pact, Quicksilver and Roxy, Cezanne, Able, Organic Basics, and Levi's. These brands use sustainable materials that last through many washes, are committed to limiting their ecological footprint, and have initiatives to give back to the environment. Where you purchase your technology from can also have an effect on personal mindful spending. Some big brands to avoid are Apple, as the phones deteriorate with each new update, Tesla, due to the constant software updates, battery deterioration, and motor and battery combustion. HP computers, as they're hard to repair, and Samsung appliances, as their parts are also very expensive. Their phones and earbuds aren't so much an issue as much as their fridges, ovens, and washing machines.
In conclusion, or just to recap everything we've discussed today, planned obsolescence is when companies design their products with the purpose of it breaking, using it only once, or deteriorating. The purpose of this is for companies to gain revenue from people buying their products more often. In turn, these broken versions end up in our landfills and continuously making the new products pollute the air and uses more and more resources.
So just to close the presentation, before researching this personally, I did not know about planned obsolescence, so I'm hoping that a lot of it could impact the way that a lot of us choose to buy from certain products and certain companies and things like that. So just a closing question is, what habits can you implement in your life to reduce your carbon footprint and slow down the process of constant production? So some final thoughts for us nursing students is we can advocate for revamped policies or encouraging hospitals to buy tools and alternative materials. For example, using high efficiency sterilizers can promote reusing metal/durable plastic materials without the risk of infection spreading. Also, how many of us nurses notice how many plastic cups are used by patients every day? Small water or medication cups can be purchased by hospitals in biodegradable materials instead of plastic. This ensures that the waste that the hospitals do produce could maybe be given back to the environment instead of just the landfill. Even gloves made from biodegradable materials exist and can reduce the 1.7 million gloves thrown out annually, while still ensuring that gloves are not reused and producing cross-contamination between patients.
Thank you for watching our presentation on planned obsolescence.